Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your life has been shaped not by what you wanted, but by what you thought others expected of you? It's something we don't even notice most of the time. From the way we dress, to the choices we make about our work, to the little things we say in everyday conversations. There's this constant question quietly humming in the background. What will they think of me? That question feels harmless at first. In fact, it can even feel responsible. We tell ourselves it's good to care, that it means we're thoughtful, polite, aware of others. But slowly, without realizing it, that question begins to take root in our decisions, in our confidence, even in how we see ourselves. Suddenly, we're not just considering others. We're handing them the keys to our self-worth. Think about the last time you hesitated before doing something that mattered to you. Maybe you wanted to try something new, or share an idea, or speak up in a moment that called for honesty. Did you pause, not because you doubted yourself, but because you were afraid of being judged? That hesitation, that tightening in the chest, that voice whispering that you might look foolish or out of place. That's the weight of caring too much. It is heavy, isn't it? That constant need to be seen the right way. And it's exhausting. It feels like no matter how carefully you shape yourself, there's always another opinion waiting to remind you that you're not enough. One day it's about your appearance. Another day it's about your choices. Another day it's about something you said or didn't say. You can't win because the rules keep changing depending on who you're trying to please. I want you to imagine for a moment what it would feel like to set that weight down. Imagine waking up tomorrow and moving through your day without that constant filter. Imagine speaking freely without replaying the conversation 100 times in your mind afterward. Imagine making choices not because they'll be accepted, but because they feel right to you. Imagine feeling light enough to breathe fully without carrying the invisible burden of other people's opinions. That is what this conversation is about. It's not about being cold. It's not about refusing to care about anyone or anything. It's about choosing where your care goes. It's about recognizing that not everything deserves a piece of you. And when you stop pouring your energy into things that don't truly matter, you discover something extraordinary. Nobody can control you anymore. Because here's the truth. Most of the time, when we feel trapped or limited in our lives, it isn't because someone is holding us back with real chains. It's because we've wrapped ourselves in invisible ones, chains made of fear, of imagined judgment, of endless, what will they think? And the moment you stop letting those chains define you is the moment they fall away. So if you've been feeling tired of carrying that weight, if you've been longing for a sense of freedom, if you've been wishing for a way to finally breathe without asking for permission first, you're in the right place. In the next part of this journey, we'll talk about why we fall into the trap of caring too much, how to begin loosening its grip, and most importantly, how to reclaim the power that was always yours. But before we dive deeper, I want you to hold on to a simple thought. You do not owe every passing opinion a piece of your peace. You do not have to prove yourself to people who don't even know your heart. And you are allowed to care less about what does not serve you. That, right there, is the beginning of freedom. Chapter 1. The Trap of Caring Too Much. Let's step into the first part of this journey together. The trap of caring too much. On the surface, it sounds strange, doesn't it? After all, we've been taught our whole lives that caring is good. Caring makes us kind, thoughtful, connected, and that's true to a point. But when caring crosses into the territory of overcaring, when it stretches far beyond what is healthy, it begins to chip away at us from the inside. Think about where it all begins. From the time we're young, we're told to be careful about how we act because of what others might say. We're taught to sit a certain way, speak a certain way, behave a certain way. There's always that voice reminding us that the eyes of the world are watching. At first it seems harmless, even protective. But what starts as guidance soon grows into a constant monitoring system that never shuts off. Without realizing it, we carry it into adulthood, into every part of our lives. Now picture this. You're walking through your day, and every choice you make is like stepping onto a scale. You're not just weighing your own thoughts and feelings, you're weighing the invisible opinions of everyone around you. What will they think if I say this? What will they think if I do that? Life doesn't feel like living anymore. It feels like a performance. This is the trap. Caring turns from a natural human instinct into a cage. And the bars of that cage are built from other people's voices. Voices that tell you to be smaller, quieter, different. Voices that say you're too much of one thing and not enough of another. Voices that don't always come from real conversations, but from the endless comparisons we make in our minds. We compare ourselves to strangers we've never met. We compare ourselves to stories we've made up about how perfect other people's lives must be. And slowly, piece by piece, we hand over our sense of control. The cost of this trap is heavy. When we care too much about what others think, we hold ourselves back. We hesitate when opportunities appear. We silence our opinions, even when we know they matter. We change our colors to blend in with whatever crowd we're standing in, and in the process, we lose sight of the vivid colors that made us unique in the first place. Think about how often people replay the same moment in their minds over and over, worrying they sounded foolish, worrying someone misread their tone, worrying they didn't measure up. Hours, even days, can be lost to those quiet storms of doubt. All because of a glance, a comment, or even just an imagined judgment that may not have existed at all. This constant loop of overcaring keeps us from peace. It steals our ability to rest in who we are. And perhaps the hardest part is that it never ends. No matter how hard you try to meet everyone's expectations, no matter how carefully you shape yourself to be acceptable, the rules keep changing. What pleases one person may offend another. What earns praise today may earn criticism tomorrow. It is a game with no finish line, and yet we keep running in circles, desperate for a kind of approval that never truly arrives. Here's the truth. The trap of caring too much isn't about the world holding us down. It's about us tying ourselves to the world's shifting standards. It's about looking outward for permission to be who we already are inside. And as long as we keep doing that, we'll feel powerless, restless, and disconnected from ourselves. But here's something to hold on to. If overcaring can become a trap, then it also means freedom is possible. Because traps are built, and what is built can be dismantled. Once we see how this pattern has shaped us, we can begin to step out of it. And the first step is recognizing that not every voice deserves to shape your choices. Not every opinion deserves to live rent-free in your mind. As we move forward, I want you to carry this image. Imagine yourself carrying a basket. Every time you care about what someone else thinks, you're putting a stone into that basket. Some stones are light, others heavy, but no matter their size, the basket gets heavier and heavier until it slows you down. Over time, you realize most of those stones don't even belong to you. They were tossed in by passing comments, by fleeting looks, by your own imagination about how others might see you. And yet you're the one carrying them. This is the trap, a life spent carrying what was never yours to hold. And the more you carry, the more control you hand away. That's why caring too much is not just exhausting. It is disempowering. It keeps you small when you were meant to live with space and ease. But here's the hopeful part. You can put the basket down. You can stop collecting stones that were never yours. And the moment you realize that, the trap begins to lose its hold. Chapter 2. The Power of Not Caring. Now that we've looked closely at the trap of caring too much, let's step into something far more liberating. The power of not caring. At first, the phrase might sound harsh. We're so conditioned to believe that caring is always a good thing that the idea of not caring feels wrong. But here's the truth. Not caring is not about shutting your heart off. It's not about becoming cold or dismissive. It's about choosing carefully what is worthy of your care and what is not. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you could walk through your day without the constant weight of other people's opinions pressing on your shoulders. Imagine waking up and choosing clothes because they make you feel comfortable and alive, not because you think they'll impress someone. Imagine speaking your mind, not because you know it will be accepted, but because it's true to who you are. Imagine trying something new without the fear of failing in front of an audience, because you no longer see the audience as the judge of your worth. That is the power of not caring. When you stop caring about things that do not truly matter, you reclaim the energy that has been draining out of you for years. Think of it like water flowing through a leaky bucket. Every little hole represents a place where you've given your attention to something outside of your control, someone's opinion, someone's criticism, someone's fleeting judgment. The more holes there are, the less water you have left for yourself. But the moment you begin to close those holes, the water stays. You have more of yourself to give to what actually matters. Not caring is not about apathy. It is about alignment. It is about deciding that your care is precious, that your attention is valuable, and that you will no longer give it away freely to anyone who happens to pass by. Instead, you protect it. You direct it toward things that nourish you. And when you begin to live this way, something remarkable happens. You stop being controlled. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. Control is not always about force. Most of the time, control comes from knowing that you care too much about what others think. The moment someone senses that, they hold power. They can withhold approval. They can offer criticism, and you'll bend under the weight of it because you've tied your piece to their response. But when you no longer measure yourself by that yardstick, the power vanishes. Nobody can control a person who no longer cares about being measured. Think of the quiet confidence you've seen in certain people. It's not arrogance. It's not rudeness. It's this calm, steady presence that says, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it. That confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from caring less about the noise around them and more about the voice within. That's what makes them untouchable. And here's something else. When you stop caring about things that don't matter, you actually begin to care more deeply about the things that do. You have more energy for your growth, your health, your peace, your joy. You have more patience for the people and experiences that truly enrich your life. You begin to live with focus instead of distraction. The power of not caring shows up in the small, everyday moments. It's the choice to let a passing comment slide instead of carrying it for days. It's the decision to try something new even if others don't understand it. It's the freedom to laugh at yourself when things don't go as planned instead of crumbling under imagined embarrassment. These may sound small, but they add up. And together, they form a way of living that feels lighter, freer, and far more authentic. The most powerful part of all is the peace that comes with it. There is a calmness in not needing to please, in not needing to explain, in not needing to prove. It's the calmness of finally realizing that you are not on trial. Life is not a courtroom, and you are not here to defend yourself every moment of the day. Once you stop caring about playing that endless role, you walk into a kind of freedom that feels like breathing deeply after holding your breath for years. And this freedom has another gift hidden within it. When you stop caring about unnecessary opinions, you stop shrinking yourself. You no longer edit your personality to fit the mold. You no longer silence your ideas out of fear. You no longer trade authenticity for approval. Instead, you begin to expand into your full shape. You allow yourself to be the whole person you were always meant to be, unpolished and imperfect, but real. The world will still have opinions. That won't change. People will still talk. They will still compare. They will still judge, but none of that matters when you've chosen not to carry it with you. The world's noise may continue, but your inner space becomes quiet, and in that quiet, you find yourself again. So the power of not caring is not about shutting off, but about opening up. It's about refusing to give power to things that drain you, and pouring that power back into yourself. It's about recognizing that freedom doesn't come from being liked, accepted, or approved. Freedom comes from no longer needing to be. And when you reach that place, nobody can control you. Because control depends on your willingness to hand over your peace. And you've decided, finally, that your peace is not up for negotiation. Chapter 3. How to practice caring less. So we've explored the trap of caring too much, and we've uncovered the freedom that comes from caring less. But of course, the question that always lingers is, how? How do we actually do it? How do we let go of something that feels so deeply ingrained in us? After all, caring what others think is not just a habit. It's something many of us have carried for decades. It's woven into the way we make decisions, into the way we speak, even into the way we move through the world. So, learning to care less isn't about flipping a switch. It's about small shifts, practiced over time, that slowly begin to change the way we see ourselves. The first practice is perspective. In any moment where you feel weighed down by worry over what someone else might think, ask yourself a simple question. Will this matter in 5 years? Even in 1 year? Even in 1 month? Most of the time, the answer is no. Think about the last time you lost sleep over something small, maybe an awkward moment, a mistake, or a comment someone made. At the time, it felt enormous. But looking back, does it hold the same weight? Probably not. Perspective helps us see that most of the things we obsess over are passing clouds, not permanent storms. And when we remember that, it becomes easier to release them. Another practice is the art of pausing. When something stings, a comment, a criticism, a disapproving look, our instinct is to react immediately. We want to defend ourselves, explain ourselves, prove ourselves. But the pause is where the power lies. Instead of rushing to respond, simply notice what you're feeling. Say to yourself, I feel tension, I feel embarrassment, I feel anger, and then breathe. By creating that pause, you take yourself out of the grip of reaction and step into the space of choice. And in that space, you can decide whether this moment truly deserves your energy. More often than not, you'll find that it doesn't. Boundaries are another essential part of learning to care less. Think about whose opinions genuinely matter to you. If you make a list, you'll probably find it's very small. Maybe it's a few trusted voices who know your heart, who want what's best for you, who see you clearly. Everyone else is background noise. Yet so often, we give more weight to the voices of strangers than to the voices of those who truly know us. Imagine shifting that balance. Imagine deciding that only a select few voices get to sit at the table of your mind, and the rest stay outside. That simple boundary protects your peace in ways you may not even realize until you practice it. And then there's self-approval. This one is perhaps the most powerful, but also the most challenging. For years, you may have looked outward to measure your worth. You've sought validation in the nods and smiles of others. But what if you began to validate yourself first? What if, before you asked, "Do they think I did well?" you asked, "Do I think I did well?" What if, before you wondered, "Did they like what I said?" you asked, "Am I proud of what I said?" This shift is not easy because it requires unlearning the habit of outsourcing our worth. But with practice, it builds a foundation that no amount of outside noise can shake. Another way to practice caring less is through letting go of perfection. Much of our overcaring comes from the belief that if we can just be flawless, then no one will have anything negative to say. But perfection is an illusion. No matter how carefully you plan, how much you prepare, or how hard you try, there will always be room for someone to criticize. That's the nature of being human. When you embrace imperfection, you stop playing a game you could never win. Instead, you begin to see mistakes not as evidence of failure, but as proof of growth. And the more comfortable you become with your own imperfections, the less weight criticism holds. You can also practice caring less by reimagining the idea of failure. So much of our caring is tied to fear. The fear of looking foolish, the fear of trying and not succeeding, the fear of being seen as less. But what if failure was simply feedback? What if every attempt, no matter how messy, was a step forward? When you see failure as part of progress, the sting of outside judgment loses its grip. You realize that nobody else's opinion can define your journey, because you are the one walking it. Another gentle practice is choosing silence. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. Not every judgment needs to be answered. Not every criticism needs to be defended. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. By not engaging, you send a message, not just to the world but to yourself, that your peace is worth more than proving a point. Silence, in many ways, is the sound of caring less. There's also something to be said about practicing presence. Overcaring is often rooted in a mind that is either stuck in the past or worried about the future. We replay old moments, analyzing them endlessly, or we worry about what's coming next. But when you bring yourself back to the present, this moment, right here, you begin to see that most of your fears are imagined. In this moment, you are safe. In this moment, you are enough.